Okay, welcome everyone. We'll start our first session on Unit 5, which is Strategic Audit, which will go through today's audit, which we already covered and learned Unit 4 about the financial management, where we discuss about different sources of finance. So today our lesson will be focused on just focus will be on how we can do audit and what is a role of audit in business world as well as the financial world. So which we'll go through. So let's before starting, my name Anjum Satar. We are going to start a new unit. Unit 5 is about audit. It is a mandatory unit. So aim of this unit, on the completion of this unit, learner will have a gain knowledge and understanding how managers can position and execute business strategy appropriately. Strategy mean action plan. What sort of the action planning we can to be achieve our organization objective, because audit means the taking the corrective action. What we are doing, we're supposed to take the corrective action. So this will enable in the depth study of the strategic auditing process, and we'll go through the related procedures. So this unit really you will be able to understand and apply suitable investigative techniques, which will go through positive and negative environmental uh, and effect on the audit, which we'll go through. So there, under this unit, we're supposed to learn 4 learning outcome, which we're supposed to address, and good few assessment criteria. So learning outcome 1, which we'll go through today, understand historic and the current auditing processes, and will processes and procedures, which will go through how we can do audit and what sort of the processes or procedure really we need to keep in mind when we'll do audit. So audit can be internal and external, which we'll discuss as well. So under this LO1, we have three assessment criteria. 1.1 is a review the history, which we need to look around the current auditing regulatory environment. We'll go through the identify the rules of professional conduct of auditors and critically assess the and the professional conduct of the auditors. So critically, which we need to go through, and we'll discuss, what are audit roles today in this current scenario and why this role is significant increase with the passage of time. So second learning outcome, which we'll go through next lesson, understand the importance of legal and the professional requirement when completing audit. So what are the legal requirements? By law, we have to look around. What are the ethical requirements as well, because legal is mean by law and by rules, and other are the principles. So what sort of the ethic as the principle as a auditor firm need to be adopted? What sort of the strategy we can use in our audit? So how we can set up, and make strategy to achieve audit objective. So understand the risk. So if you don't know what sort of the risk can be involved, in which sort of the situation we can't do audit, appropriate. So we can't identify the risk, because the actual purpose of audit is to identify and rectify what are the errors, and we can improve our internal control procedures within our organization. So understand the current development in our audit. So all this will be which we'll go through during our lessons. So today lesson with learning inductive content, what really we're supposed to cover, which we'll go through good few our discussion will be focused. We'll go through law, we'll go through rules. So what is the difference between law and rule? Anybody knows what is the difference between law and rule? Any thought about law and rule? Hello?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. We can start. Yes.
Yes. So what is the difference between law and rule? Any thought about law and rule? Okay. So law is mean by legislation, which we call many legislation really passed, in, and the rule is passed by the parliaments as well. We can set our internal rule for the control purposes, but law and rules, rules and regulation. So one is called principle based approach, one is called rule based approach. So audit professional ethics is a principle-based approach, not a rule-based approach. So in audit, we are using both principle and rule-based approaches, where we're following the rules and regulation. Rules is set by the different audit standard under, and the laws, different legislation, those passed by the parliaments. So this will go through, no problem, that's fine. So professional conduct fail of the regulations of the members as a professional body acting under the by law, statutory or the contractual powers. So what sort of the contractual power they have, what they can do, rule of professional conduct to ensure the proper standard of professional conduct are observed. So which will go through professional code of ethics as well, integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, and competency. And one more which normally we use, due care. So anybody, any question? If any questions, so please carry on aside, chat with me, and either drop me email if you're just listening this recording today. So we'll start our first lesson, which will be on audit. So okay, today we'll discuss about this lesson is first lesson about audit. So please, you don't need to really follow the rules, because of course maybe you're using mobile, because more in a class-based environment we use these rules. So in my slides I'll remove next time. So next, LO1 is a learning outcome one, which we're supposed to address this lesson, and I wish we have a bit understanding about how the history behind the audit, what processes and procedures involved when we do the audit. So that's really we need to achieve during this lesson. And what do you know about audit? Anybody knows anything about audit? What is meant by audit? What's come in your mind, audit? Anybody, any thought about audit? So the word audit is derived from the Latin word adire, which is mean, to hear. To hear the people's views, to hear what they are saying it, and then to rectify them. So we need to go through. Auditing is a concern with the verification of accounts data, with the determine the accuracy, reliability of accounting statement and record. So that's a huge, so we need to, auditing is a process of identifying, yes, checking the accuracy in the book of account. So in the simple word, you can say audit mean to checking the accuracy in the book of accounts, in the book of records. So an audit is the examination of financial report of an organization as presented in annual reports by someone independent of the organization. So if you set up audit department within our organization, it need to be independent department. They do audit and they can report to CEO of the company, or they can report to the compliance committee, where we have a various sort of stakeholders involved in the compliance committee. So that's we need to go through. So please, in your assignment, you can define, what is meant by audit, what types of role of audit, and these, the things really we need to address under learning outcome one, the history behind the audit as well. So different history, if we can divide into different period. So prior to the 1840, generally the early historical development of auditing is not well documented. So auditing in the form of instant checking activities was found in the civilization of China, Egypt, and Greece. That's back in 350 BC. So we can look around the closet present today auditing. Similar kind of the checking activity were also found in different in the ancient exchequer of England, when the power was in place throughout the world, most of the country. So we can say prior to the 40s, when the exchequer was established in England during when Henry one or second, and the special audit officers were appointed to make sure that the state revenue and expenditure transactions were properly accounted. So really, we need to be look around the transaction. So that's what the really the person who was responsible for examination of account and known as a auditor. So the word is came auditors from there. So the aim of such examination was prevent the fraudulent action. So key thing to rule was to prevent the fraudulent action. According to the portal, auditing had a little commercial application prior to the industrial revolution. So after the industrial revolution, when is the industry really set up, so their role of audit is significant increase. Think about you're a shareholder that you're investing money in the company. Really, you want to make sure what you invest, you get the fair share in shape of return. So because someone else is looking your money, so there is a stewardship and the principles. Actually, the shareholder are the owner of the business, and the director is really look after the business. So we need to look around. Then 1840 to 1920, during industrial revolution, practices of auditing was emerged. So different people explain large scale of operation, large factories, machine based production result from the industrial revolution, but the large amount of capital was needed. So then the middle class during the industrial revolution period, they provided the fund for establish of the large industrial and the commercial undertaking. So that's the way, with the passage of time, you will see in the history, and if you go through and read, full thorough history, and you will find all this is whenever the industries or the frauds or the things carry on changing. Like nowadays, you maybe heard about Enron. Anybody heard about Enron?
No, sir, I think we are good.
Or World Telecom, Worldtel. So that was the biggest company, Enron and World Telecom. These were collapsed, in back in 2000, 2001. The reason was actually the auditor give the report. They said, they have 1 million in their account. The company is very, it's a going concern. They will carry on doing business as a normal. And after few months, they can't afford it to pay salary. They don't have a cash enough. So ultimately, the business collapsed, and millions of people lost their investment. So we need to, that's why the new standard arrives, and a lot of new standards carry on coming now as well. Still these are the corporate scandals, everything is happening. So that's the reason audit role is significantly increased these days now in this modern world as well. So in 1840 to 1920, innocent investors are reliable for the business failure, then the need of the protection. And this time, we the really profession, or we can say the of audit is significant role is increased. Lot of legislation being set up to prevent the errors and the fraud. So key thing, what is the difference between error and fraud? Anybody knows what is the difference between fraud and error? Errors and fraud.
Fraud or errors. Fraud is, wrong activity by individuals in a company to kind of maybe sometimes we are overstating our profits, and sometimes theft or some kind of activities related to theft, illegal activities, which involves the illegal withdrawal of money or some kind of these activities are, I think, are more of a fraud.
Yes, so fraud come under deception. By intentionally you do something, you deceive someone. But error, unintentionally, you make mistakes. We human, we can make mistakes. Yes, these come under errors. So fraud is intentionally, you are doing it. Yes, so that's come under
Mhm.
fraud. So like money laundering or various other, these come under fraud because intentionally, you're just, what you're doing. So error, you record the transaction, you missed it, few invoices. But think about, anybody heard about materiality? Materiality.
Materiality, anything that is of a significant value.
Well done.
Um,
So,
yes.
well done. That's significant. So if you're missing 10 pound voucher, yes, you're
Yeah.
not recording. So you need to look around, that 10 pound is really, really material in term of 20 million worth of company. Yes. If
Mhm.
somebody not declaring 10 pound worth of expenses properly, and it's a error, it's not material, yes, because you shown the material facts and figures, right? With that's come under the materiality. You need to look around, auditor need to look around the material facts. Okay, then it's these carry on happening and various authors explain, and then history. Okay, then 1920 to 1960. So what's happened? The growth of the US economy in 1920 to 60 is a big shift, in arching development from UK to US. Meanwhile, the advancement of the security market and the credit granting institution had also facilitated the development of the capital market in this period. The concept of the materiality is developed. Sampling techniques were used auditing during this period. What is meant by sample? What is meant by sample?
Sampling. I'm sorry, sir. No idea about sampling.
Okay, sampling means uh, from the whole population. Yes, population means the total numbers, and picking few numbers to check, that represent the whole population views or not. That's it called sample. Because the sampling in audits is sampling is very, very important, because the auditor can't check the every transaction. If you check the every transaction, maybe it takes a years and then the next year audit will be due, because after every 12 months you need to be audited before publishing your financial statement. So really, sampling is a technique to check, and sample can be probability and random or non-random sampling. Quota sampling, you say maybe 10% invoices you will check. We can say 2%. So if we want to check the views of the people, maybe we can take the sample 10% from city, 10% from different areas. So in low dem, high dem, or medium dem areas, and then we can add their views. So that's called sample instead of you looking. So, but the sampling technique should represent the whole population's view. So any question there? So then next, majority of the characteristic of audit approaches during this period, among others, internal control. So what is meant by internal control? So during this period, a lot of focus was internal control. Do we know the internal control?
Internal controls. Yes. I think procedures that are defined by the companies to kind of avoid such kind of fraudulent activities and thefts of their money.
Yes. So control within our organization for audit purposes. So that's called internal control to improve the efficiency. Why we doing to reduce the fraud? Yes.
Mm.
So improve efficiencies.
Yes.
So we need to look around how we can improve efficiencies within our organizations. So that's why internal control. So everything is run the properly. Internal and external sources. So auditor evidence. Auditor can get the evidence from internal sources. Invoices. Yes. Think about sales. What is meant by sales? Sales can be cash sales. Yes. Sales can be
Mhm.
credit sales. I can include any figures in my book of accounts, yes, and I can say the sales. But what auditor can do, auditor can pick the invoice and go to the external person who bought it. Really, you bought it? If you bought it, where from what was the source of payment you made it? So we can do full audit trial trail, so we can look around, where the money came, who bought it, where we bought the stock, and the tax authority can easily investigate as well.
Yeah.
Really emphasis on the truth and the fairness of the financial statement. How many types of financial statement we prepare?
Financial statements, balance
We
sheet, profit and loss, cash flows. Yes.
Brilliant. So these are the financial statement, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement, and the shareholder equity statement. So we need to look around when we are doing audit. We're looking, oh, they have put it the 10 million pound worth of property. This property, is it really 10 million pound worth of or not? So independent surveyor's view we can take as well. We can keep the evidence as well to give the views, the whatever the accounts reflecting are true or we can look around our own physical observations and we can give our own views. So a detailed view need to be based on two things, true and fair.
True and fair.
So true and fair views we need to give. So our the things we checked it, everything we found true and fair is in within a law and within the rules. Everything is a physical existent of those things is carry on happening. So in 1960s to 90s, the world economy continues grows, and the period mark is the important development in the technology advancement, the size, complexity, and the companies, the duty of a detail to truthness, really true and fair. So that's really focus was during this period, but they're still not true and fair because the World Telecom Enron. So these happened in 2000. So it means the system of audit was not appropriate to address those issues. So in earlier part of this period, a change in the audit approaches to can be observed from verifying transaction in the book of and relying on the system. Such change was due to the increase in the number of transactions. Think about online transaction in trillions now. In the past, we can use to give the money, we can buy that. But business is now not in one country, business can be. So now a detail need to be good understanding about the information system when we do the audit, yes? So we should have a clear manual information system because the company is doing audit and we need to look around how we can control these. Marriott Hotel last week, their data been stolen, 3 million customer. Their system was hacked. So we need to do audit. How will make sure it won't be happen in future? Yes, because if the people can fear the losses or face the losses, and they won't invest in the organization. So we need to look around like, the various countries, the bogus caller taking money from the client's account. So we need to look around, what really safeguard we in place in our organization. It won't be happen in the various bank and the various financial institutions due to the technological fraud is increasing, cyber crime. So in the earlier this period, change in the audit approach observed. So that's really we need to look around, improve. So that was the risk-based auditing. What is meant by risk? What is meant by risk? Risk is positive or negative? What do you think? Risk
Mm,
always negative?
risk based. I mean, maybe the auditors will focus on areas such as which they think in that organization are likely to have more possibility of fraud.
Yes. So we set our audit approach to be based on we should identify the risk, high risk, medium risk, low risk. But audit itself can be create a risk as well. Yes. So if we not identify, it can create a risk for the various
Mhm.
stakeholders. So we need to be make sure we explore in our audit planning, we address all the risks those are. We should be detect them. We try to eliminate them. We should highlight to stakeholders. Yes, it won't be happen in
Yeah.
future. So risk-based audit is auditing approach where our data will be focused on those areas which are most likely to contain errors. Yes, contain errors. Think about the cash. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the warehouse inventory stolen. Think about the payroll. Like in the UK, a lot of companies they used to be a fake workers in their payroll. People not
Mm-hmm.
working in an organization. So what auditor can do, he or she can approach to HMRC to check, so they are paying taxes and that taxes is going against the national insurance number. So that's come under the audit as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we just want to make sure this is a risk-based approach. So which happened in 1962 onward really. Any question? Okay, next now we're looking the 1990 to today. Present days auditing has developed into the process that build the business risk perspective. Business risk. Business risk can be operational risk. Yes. So we can do audit operational risk. We can go through the systematic risk. The people doing systematically stealing money. Yes. Somebody is like in various countries is happening, yes, fake accounts and things, so we need to look around how we'll make sure this won't be happen in our institution. So present and ultimately objective auditing is lend the credibility of the financial and non-financial information provided management in annual reports. So auditor highlighted lot of company they won't show the commitment in their accounts, like the non-current liability. What is meant by non-current liabilities?
Current liabilities, long-term liabilities.
Yes, long-term liability. So normally in the book of account it shows you have a liabilities, yes, and how much
Mm-hmm.
interest you're paying, but it's not showing how long that liability you have. Because if the building collapse, if the financial market collapse, your organization can be collapsed, yes, because you can't afford it. So it should be provide the information to the user of financial statement, this commitment we have how long. So user can make the right decision based on. So that's why the new IAS 16 is new IAS 15 is going to be released, which is on the mortgage or the long term commitment on the financial lease.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
Any question?
Uh, yes, fine.
Okay, so there are the number of reports are those being published about the corporate governance and how we can organization in 1919 till present. Sarbanes-Oxley Act, the US, which is gave the reports, it outlined the rules on the details independency. For example, for uh, for example, we need to look around the outline the rules on the auditor's independency. For example, the control of the audit quality, rotation of audit partner, as well as the prohibition of the conflict of interest. So that's already also been informed. So really, we need to focus on any question there.
No, I'm fine, sir.
Okay, so next we're looking some infrastructure, how the audits were. International Federation of Accountant is at the top. They set the code of ethics, five professional code of ethics, different accounting bodies they need to follow. IASB is International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board that come under IFAC. So they set the auditing standard, international standard on auditing, IFAs. They have various auditing standard when you do inventory, when you do this audit, when you do the audit, what standard really as a detail we need to be follow the standard. So international standard on quality control, ISQC. So how we'll make sure our information, quality information to pass to the our stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
So really we need to go through this bit.
Okay.
Okay. What do you think about ethics? What is meant by ethics? what is meant by or
Hello.
yes, what is meant by ethics?
So can you type the question?
What is meant by ethics? Ethics.
Ethics are kind of ways, ethical ways which we should follow in um, while doing any of our jobs. If we talk about day-to-day activities, and in business, ethics are kind of those good ways in which we should be performing our day-to-day business transactions or business activities, and avoiding any kind of fraudulent activities.
Good. So ethics is mean moral values. Yes, which will, you're right, the way so fundamental principle and
Mhm.
threats to the safeguard. As editors, we need to look around how we can safeguard, or we can identify the safeguard measures which the organization can take. So when we are auditors, we're supposed to be follow these are the 5 principles which we use the word to remember is PP, popular people chat in offices, PPTIO. So P stands for popular, P stands for people, C stands for chat, I stands for in, and O stands for offices. So popular people chat in offices. P stands for professional behavior. Yes. So first P, the
Yes, sir.
professional behavior. So as a auditor, we're supposed to be, as an accountant, we're supposed to be have a professional behavior, not disrepute our profession. So then second P is a professional competence. We're supposed to be have up to date knowledge and skills. If we don't have, so we are, maybe we not learn about the new audit standard, so we're not a competent to do the audit in those areas or within those organizations. Okay, or for those organizations we need to look around. Then we discuss C can confidentiality. We not declare the audit information to the third party before publishing the financial statement, so we should keep the information confidential, which is by law we have to. So next, I stand for integrity. What is meant by integrity?
Integrity is kind of honesty and similar to honesty.
Well done. So integrity mean honesty. And the last O is can objectivity. You should stay with objective. What's your profession? Objective mean what really you want to be in a profession. Yes. What result you want to be fair and true and fair views you want to establish. Nothing else. Yes. Okay. Threads. So what sort of the threads we have in a business that leads to the compromise are objectivity, professional competency, confidentiality, which will go through some threads, and the safeguard, how we can measure, how we can in play the safeguards in the organization. So that's we need to look around when we do audit. So we need to be focused what sort of the safeguards in may we can in place. So what is the ethic? Ethics is a set of moral principle that guide the behavior. Ethics value, exemption, belief about what we consider right or wrong, and business ethics are normally is responsible for their action and held accountable to the people and society. So that's we need to be focused, and
Mhm.
then we'll go through the threats. What sort of the threats can be towards organization, and so threats, self threats may occur as a result of the financial and other interests in the accountant or the family member. Think about if your son or daughter or close relative is doing business or in the business, so you can pass some legislations that can be benefit for them. And you're telling them, I'm going to set up this legislation if you're a prime minister. So that's a self-interest thread needs to be compromise your objectivity, because your objective to be the welfare of society, welfare as a wider interest of the public, not just for the few people interest. So that can be happen in the real world. So advocacy threats may occur when accountant promote position and opinion. So is my own opinion and position, I can say you do this and that. Yes, without based on any factual information, for the sake of my own benefit, can be financial. So that leads to the objectivity again can be compromised. I'm not objective. Self-review. I was accountant in our organization. Now I'm moved to in audit company or audit department and I prepare accounts. So now I'm checking my own work. So when self-review, I'm checking on my work. I'm not going to identify my mistakes. So that can be, it's not a professional behavior and objectivity can be compromised again. And familiarity, if I have many close relationship, I'm taking lot of gifts from like Christmas or various other gifts. So we have a family relationship, marriages between and thing, close relationship that can be compromised. Oh, if I'll say this, that can lead to in the family. So that is a sympathetic and the interest of others that leads to be compromise your professional code of ethics, which is can be objectivity. It's not an integrity, honesty. Yes, maybe we can not honest in some cases. So intimidation threats may be occur when the accountant may be yes from acting objectively by threats and actually are the perceived intimidation. Oh, if you don't do it, you will be you will be sacked from the job. If you not if you disclose this information to someone, so you will be sacked from the role because your professional duty. If any fraud happen, you're supposed to tell authorities. So intimidation, yes, we are intimidate you to do this. Or you will get 20% bonus if you do this way. If you save 10%, okay. If you save £50,000 worth of tax for us, and we will pay you 25,000 as a fees. So that can't be because you are intimidating now the person not. You can set the fees based on the number of hours, based on your skills and views, what you as a knowledge you have, but not based on the financial reward. So next we discuss about identifying threats. So your job as a detailed conceptual framework problem can help this help to solve the problem. You need to identify the threats. You can evaluate the thread, what sort of the thread we have, and you can apply the safeguards up to acceptable level. And if safeguards not applicable, decline or discontinues or resign from the role. So you can say this organization is a threat, so maybe I'm not going to take this assignment. You can evaluate the threat is a medium, high, low. Yes, and then you can apply the safeguard. So somebody like undercover boss coming in our organization checking, or mystery shopper to come and check, your people are doing the things right or not. If not, that thing is happening and the CEO of the company involved this, maybe we don't have any other thing to protect our own professional value, so maybe we can resign from the role. Any question?
We are good, sir.
Okay, so next we looking the audit strategy can be set up, which we'll go through for the lesson more in detail. So characteristic of the engagement. So we look around the framework, we can identify the industry reporting, knowledge, internal audit function, all this we need to be when we'll set the audit strategy. Reporting objective, what are the timing and communications between all, this we need to be well aware of and we need to make a strategy for it. A strategy for materiality, strategy for assess risk, need for the professional spectrum, their own views, and internal control. We need to look around how we can in place change in the legislation. A detail should have aware of, and audit strategy need to be changed, keeping in view of the change in the regulation and the change of the accounting standards when change auditing practices need to be reflected to change as well to check the accuracy according to the so nature, timing, and extent of the resources. So audit team need to be look around what sort of the resources we required, how much time we required, where we'll do, how we'll approach. If we are doing online audit, so maybe we can't check the physical substance. So actually the people have a physical things right or not. So maybe we can send to somebody to view it. Any question? So today lesson really we address and what are the 5 professional code of ethics? So 5 professional code of ethics we discussed today. P, popular people chat in offices, and this P stand for professional behavior, professional competencies, confidentiality, integrity, and objectivity. We discussed different period. First period was before 1940, when actually then we discussed 1942, 1920, then we discussed 1922, 1960, then we discussed 1962, 1990, and then we discussed 1992 till present. So audit history is derived and divided into these periods. So we can discuss in our assignment these and what sort of the revolution or the change or amendment or the improvements happen within those periods in terms of procedures and processes. So we discuss about audit need to be audited, need to be follow 5 professional code of ethics. We discuss 5 threats auditor need to measure and address it. And we discuss about what strategies can be implemented in an audit. We discuss about the role of internal audit. We discuss about risk-based approach of audit. We discuss about ethics is or the audit is in audit rule and the principle. What is the difference between rule-based and the principle-based? Or what is the difference between two? Rule-based when the legislation come, and the principle-based when your ethics come. One is come under civil law. We will know what is meant by civil law. And one is come criminal law. So auditor need to follow all the legislation. Both the civil law is between individual and organizations. If they not fulfill the promises, that's come under the civil law, can be penalties, damages. And the criminal law, when someone not following the government legislation, and that's come under the criminal law. Yes, auditor need to make sure to be very up to date and set the procedures both, on the civil law and the criminal laws. So we'll keep up to here. Today we learn about all the history and we discuss the 5 professional code of ethics, which is those are professional behavior, up to date knowledge, competencies, confidentiality, integrity, and objectivity. And we discuss 5 threats: self-review, self-interest, intimidation, advocacy. So please and self-review. So these threats we need to be minimized or a detailed point of view, and we need to set the procedures to reduce them. Any question?
All right, sir.
So today lesson, guys, we just learn about these and we cover LO1. So during next lesson, we'll focus on LO2. Please, if you want to look around the inductive contents before, you can, and then we'll go through. So in next lesson, our focus will be So our focus will be LO2 and LO2. So understand the importance of legal and the professional requirement completing an audit. So please go through some standard internal audit and audit activities. Global audit are the financial crisis, what happened, why these crises happen, and how the auditor role is increased in those periods. So that's, please, if you want to just copy the link and do a bit research. And all this we're supposed to learn during next lesson. So we'll keep up to here, and I'll speak you next week same time. And please just listen and go through. And next lesson I'll show you assignment brief as well, and then we can start, the writing and the learning outcome one and two, and please carry on completing your assignments side by side as well. So finish our unit. So almost our most of learning outcome will be completed until that point. So have a nice time. And if any question, drop me email. I'll upload all recording and everything on Moodle. So please just follow the Moodle. Thank you. Bye bye.